Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast. My name is Josh. Today we're doing more of a serious video. We're going to dive into the Saccone Joly's. I think Anna did a Q&A called Trans Daughter, Non-Binary Husband, Answering Your Questions. Obviously, they're capitalizing off those buzzwords and everything else. Today they're going to explore, before we get into her video, the idea of Munchausen by proxy with parents of trans kids. And we're going to explore both ways. We're going to see, is it possible? Could it be? I mean, is it worth asking the question if this does embody what's happening? And in their case, I'm going to use them as an example that it could be. Okay, so let's get to it. So according to Very Well Mind, Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a mental health disorder which a caregiver, most often a mother, routinely makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms in a child or adult victim to make it appear that the victim has a true physical or mental health issue. These actions are typically a result of maladaptive disorder or excessive attention seeking by the caregiver. Now, how does that remind you of it? Excessive attention seeking. Family vloggers. In addition to being a disorder, Munchausen syndrome by proxy is also considered a very serious form of child abuse. Munchausen syndrome and Munchausen syndrome by proxy are now classified as factitious disorder imposed on another, or FDIA, in the DSM-5. This change represents the belief that this disorder describes a behavioral pattern rather than an underlying psychiatric syndrome. Although FDIA is rare, the mortality rate is concerning. Between 6 to 10% of all FDIA cases will result in death. Holy shit. Symptoms. The signs and symptoms of FDIA will likely be present in both the caregiver and the child or adult. It's important that the doctor take note of the signs and symptoms of both parties to follow up any concerns. I think that's why kids who are going through trans issues, I think a lot of doctors are starting to realize that this might have to start being included. The Munchausen by proxy idea that their kids are something, so it brings them attention, which is why I think it's very important for kids who do exhibit like gender dysphoria and things like that, that they do go to a doctor. The doctor can diagnose both the kid and the parents and everything else, because this is a real thing. A lot of people were calling me like, there's no way this is Munchausen by proxy. This is Munchausen by proxy. I'm going to make the argument today that this could be. I'm not saying in all cases it is. I'm just saying it could be. And I think in Jonathan's case, there's a very good argument to be made for it. So there's another article here called from Granite Grok, Parents Transgendering Kids Munchausen Syndrome by Proxy Double Tap. I found this on Instapundit, and it's immediately recognizable. John Hawkins asks, this may sound familiar. If kids are getting regendered by parents who have Munchausen syndrome by proxy, I asked the same question last June. In my piece, I noted that a parent or guardian foments or perpetuates a condition in a child. They then feed off the supposed psychological benefits of the public act of care. Who does that sound like? Jonathan and Eduardo, right? I mean, that is exactly what they are benefiting completely from his kid's story being online. And now Jonathan's like, hey, it might be time for her naming. We might make a video about her new name. He's doing this. Treatment or even acceptance of that condition is regarded as both a mental health issue and a form of child abuse. Yes, it is. Also, what should be, and is not, and hopefully will be soon, is putting your kids online without their informed consent. That should be considered child abuse. And I mean, I'm just saying people who make money off of their children. People who use their kids for their vlog, for everything. I'm not just saying a kid who posts a picture. I'm not just saying a normal person who posts a picture of their kid on Facebook or Instagram should go to jail or that's abuse. We know that there's a clear-cut line between exploitation and not exploitation. Absolutely there is. We know that. And maybe people are scared for the government to make that distinction because the government is always overreaching or making things vague, so they have more power, which I agree with as well. So we got to be really careful with this, but there is going to be a clear distinction. So is the urge to transgender children or exposure to situations that encourage it a form of Munchausen syndrome by proxy? And that's just a question. Today, when I was doing the Jazz McKay show, Jazz suggested something brilliant about the parents of these kids that I had not thought of before. He suggested many of the parents pushing this idea that children may be suffering a new type of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Then this, if you're a crazy mom and you want to use your child to get attention for yourself, what better way to do it than claiming your child wants to be another gender? Then you have the endless meetings with doctors, then the school and the psychologists, and everyone surrounding your child is a constant source of attention, sympathy, and drama. And on their channel, millions of subscribers. Because why else would they do? Obviously it's for money, but it's the attention that they crave, that they get, that they love, that they soak, that they want. Why else would you do this to your child? With everyone surrounding, and when I say why else would you do this, I mean why else would you tell their story on the internet for everybody to see? Now, I'm just reading you an article, not necessarily, I'm not saying that I agree with everything that's going on here, but it's worth asking the question, it's worth talking about, it's worth debating about. I'm not saying I'm right, not saying they're right, but we have to look at all sides. And a drama that no medical issue can match. It's true. Because it's easy. And if your kid isn't, it's easy to just, oh yeah, it was a phase or whatever, right? But it gets dangerous again when we talk about puberty blockers and everything else. We start getting into surgeries and all that stuff. It does get dangerous. And doctors aren't as reluctant as they used to be to do this because it's becoming more accepted. Perhaps more importantly, you get in trouble for faking medical symptoms for your child, but people treat disagreeing with your claim that your 5-year-old boy really wants to be a girl like a hate crime. Welcome to Canada. Wow, what a point. I didn't broach the latter point, and it's a great one, that these parents got the added benefit of defending their child from the discrimination they've never had to face were not for the parent. It's like Munchausen syndrome by proxy, double tap. You not only created a condition on your child to feed off them like a psychological lamprey, but you get the added bonus of ranting about how unfair the world is to the child regendered. In case you forgot, Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a mental illness and is clinically recognized as child abuse. And so according to many medical professionals, using hormone blockers and hormone treatments to transgender your kids, treatments have killed at least 6,300 kids so far. I did not know that. I will read that article. I'm not sure what the mentally ill child abusing parent do then. Maybe they feed off the death of the child they facilitated, and we know that exists. We know that there is no depths to which parents will not exploit any situation to become famous on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Look, there has to be a conversation, and everybody is very scared to talk about this whole idea that miscarriages and stillborns and everything and filming all that kind of stuff. And people are like, well, those people are grieving that way. And I can't argue that. And they've already lost someone. So I tend to stay away from that type of stuff. But we've got to come to an agreement as a society of what constitutes too far. Because if you want to film it and everything else, there's nothing wrong with it. But why are you sharing that with everybody? If you need to film that for the attention it gives you as your way of dealing with grief, then I feel like that is something that we need to address. Because I don't think that that's smart. So it's the same website. Transgender puberty blocking drugs has killed over 6,300. Between 2012 and June 30 of this year, the FDA documented over 40,764 adverse reactions suffered by patients who took leuprolide acetate, Lupron, which is used as hormone blocker. More than 25,500 reactions logged from 2014 to 2019 were considered serious, including 6,300 deaths. Wow. Don't expect any of that if it saves just one life business from the Democrats, though. They've got teams of experts who say that doping kids as young as 8 years old are what they need. And I disagree. Don't give kids puberty blockers. For one thing, I did a little bit of research, obviously. I know I'm not the best researcher in the world. But the one thing specifically for boys is that bone density development bone density and bone growth is a huge factor into who males are. It's one of the big genetic differences between males and females, which is why you see male-born athletes competing as transgender females dominate the sports. It's a different conversation. I'm not going to talk about it today, but that bone density and lung growth and everything else, that all comes from puberty, right? So if you stop that, there's a detrimental effect because the developmental stages have been missed. So a lot of people who are arguing with me about the thing, and I'm not saying you're wrong, they're saying, well, you can just stop it and then you'll go through puberty as is. But let's say you did those drugs for 4 years, from the age of 11 onwards, and you're 15. You've missed 4 years of bone density development and lung capacity development as a male. And if that child decides they want to stay male and continue forward that way, they've lost out on a lot of development. Okay, so it's more detrimental to males, I think. That's the little bit of research I did. And so that's one, and I'm just saying that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it is a negative impact. Let's be real. There are negative impacts to these things. And a lot of people who took these things medically, they came at me like, I didn't save my life. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying it should be for the right reasons. And stopping your child from having puberty, in my opinion, is not a good enough reason. You shouldn't do that. I mean, now we're seeing that there's deaths. Under the nebulous concept of gender identity, children as young as 8 are receiving injections for gender transition treatment. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. There's no way I would ever do that to my children. Unless it was like medically necessary for a different medical thing, right? That's different. If it's just because they say now they're a boy or girl, I don't think that's a good enough reason. I think there's the world is changing. And it's scaring me. That's crazy. Okay. So in the end, there's a bunch of negative impacts you can have on children. There's injuries and there's deaths, and there's obviously developmental things that they miss out on. I mean, women too. I will do more of an in-depth research into this because I did get a ton of comments, but I'm open to being wrong about it. I'm open to hearing all sides of it. But that's where I stand right now based on what I've done my research on. Okay. So all that to say, I think that what they're doing, and I don't think it's Anna. I think Anna's just on board for this because it's how they make their money. This is a form of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Because you have to understand it from this point. It's obviously rare, but here's the evidence that Jonathan is someone who has Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Okay? He is the one who admitted that he struggled with his identity his entire life. And in recent years, I think a year and a half has come out and is full-blown, I'm that. So if you don't think that that played a huge role in the way he parented, and if Eduardo was wearing dresses and things like that, that he was like, oh, yes, I never had parents that supported that, and so I'm going to push this. Let's not diminish the effects of huge positive reinforcement in our children, right? So our children do something, they do something good, you're like, wow, that was amazing. Then they want to do that more. That was incredible, so good. Hey, you did that thing, you're grounded, that was bad. That's a negative impact. So kids want to please their parents, right? If you are getting positive reinforcements in every way, then Eduardo's got that from the beginning. As Jonathan was like, okay, yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't give positive reinforcement, but you should, I'm saying you should accept, but there's a difference between acceptance and huge positive reinforcement, meaning do it more, do it more, do it more, do it more. Do you know what I mean? So that's the evidence I have, that's the evidence I'm presenting that Jonathan is exhibiting Munchausen by proxy syndrome in Eduardo. But let's get to this video. It's 12 minutes long, Q&A, because I'm very interested to hear what Anna has to say of this, because her body language and facial expressions, to me, as a person who's very good at reading people, scream that she is not down for this.
So I've seen a few people have questioned why I haven't made an announcement on my social media, like on my Instagram.
I have got to give her props though. Can I be real for a second? She doesn't even have she's in her late 30s. She has the best skin I've ever seen. I don't know if there's a filter, but even I have bags and I look generally young for my age. She has flawless skin. I don't know why I'm thinking that. I noticed it. Okay.
Page or
it's makeup though, right?
Or anywhere about Eduardo or about Jonathan.
What are you wearing, Jonathan? What is it that you're wearing? The collar is too big. The collar is huge. So I'm going to blank their faces, obviously, but what is she putting Eduardo in? And what? Her trans? Why did you put trans in? Why did you put the moniker for trans? What did you have to put that in there for? If she's a she, she's a she. You don't have to put the word trans in. I think that's actually quite offensive to trans folk, to be honest with you, to do that. And why are you dressing her like that? So let's forget the idea of Munchausen and everything else. Why are you dressing your daughter in inappropriate clothes? What is this coat, dude? What's going on here?
In our last video, there were a lot of questions from lots of you directed towards me. So I think a lot of you are...
Here's a question. Why are you going along with this? Your children need you to be not this. Your children need you to be a parent with their head on straight. Why are you allowing this? That's the question I have.
We're interested to know from...
We all know it's the money.
My perspective as the wife of a non-binary person.
She can't even say it without... She doesn't believe what she's saying, is what I'm telling you.
And the mother of a trans daughter.
It doesn't flow. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you hear that? The hesitancy? That just means that she's racking her brain for the things she needs to be saying, because I don't think it's actually true. That's where I'm at.
That's like for me. Feel free to leave questions, anything that I've missed in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you.
I'm sure you will.
Honestly, no. Everybody in our close circle of friends has been really supportive.
You don't have any friends. Liars. These people don't have any real friends. You know why they don't have any real friends? Because real friends, look at Jess Fam, who had a real friend. Then Jess Fam threw her under the bus, and then look what happened. They don't have real friends because they can't let people know who they really are in real life, because if that shit ever does get out, it's going to be detrimental to them and their careers.
But I wouldn't really expect anything less from them, because I think when you get to a certain age, you don't really let people into your life that you don't fully trust, and your circle becomes smaller.
Yeah, your friends think you're crazy too. They just won't say it to your face. How do you feel at the thought of Eduardo may want to change her name in the future?
I personally feel like that's her decision to make. It's her name, it's not mine, so I don't have a problem with it. Eduardo is the same as
What changes will you be making in bringing up of Eduardo due to her coming out?
all of our other children. I don't really think that there's any changes to do with bringing her up.
Yeah, I can tell you a couple changes you guys have made. You've focused the entire channel now on Eduardo. That's a big change. Eduardo was a kid. Now Eduardo's the star because you're seeing the money that you're making from Eduardo. And then Jonathan don't care about Jonathan's story because they believe that he's faking it. They believe they don't know if it's hard to believe him, right? Because he's a liar. And there's been proved in the past that he's a big ass, scam ass liar. So you have to be there with people to be like, okay, well, you've lied and scammed in the past. Why should we believe you now? But that's a big change for Eduardo. The idea that now Eduardo's the star, that could be a big deal for a lot of kids.
That I would make?
Are you worried about how other kids will treat Eduardo?
No.
Okay.
This is a really short video. Eduardo has been who Eduardo is for actually pretty much like wholeheartedly for the last 2 years now.
Now we got the solidified 2 years. It's been 2 years, and they said he's been doing it since birth. They keep changing the story.
And so all of those kind of growing pains have already been ironed out. So
They have not. Eduardo's 8. Growing pains haven't even started yet.
no, everybody has been really accepting at school for the most part. Obviously, there's been a few hiccups, but children, I'm not worried about. It's more an adult problem. And that's the kind of thing that we just cross those bridges as we come to them. So
Okay, sounds cool. Sounds like you have a plan. Crossing bridges as you get to them. Good plan. Had you always known or had subconscious feeling about how E and J felt about their sexuality?
Eduardo's 7, almost 8.
Oh, she's not even 8.
Nobody knows her feelings on her sexuality. So that's all just like up in the air. It's completely...
But I'm sure you're going to let us know.
Not even a thing. And Jonathan, yes, I've always known his sexual preferences. It's been really obvious to me.
So she's laughing about that, meaning that he likes women. So he's a cisgendered male, is what they're saying.
No.
Have you been faced with a lot of criticism due to the Jonathan and Eduardo?
Not in real life at all.
Not in this day and age.
I think people on the whole are really just normal about this kind of thing, especially in 2022.
She's lying. You haven't been faced with a lot of criticism? Are you shitting me right now? I think she means in like the public square, like where she lives, possibly, but the online community of me and other people and in their comment sections and the threads and everything else, they've gotten more criticism about this than anything they've ever done ever. So what do you mean? No, we haven't been faced with a lot of criticism. You absolutely have been faced with a ton of criticism.
Online is obviously different.
Oh, okay.
But then online you have to know that there's a lot more different opinions out there. Mm-hmm. There are people that you wouldn't necessarily have in your friend group watching, or in your town or in your country. Like there's just so many differences. So I kind of expect that. But no, not in our immediate lives.
Because you don't have anybody in your immediate lives. Okay. Was there a one specific moment where you realized Eduardo was transgender? People, why do you guys care about a child and their story like this? It's not even about the Q&A. It's about who are you? This adult who's asking questions about a 7-year-old transgender child. Who are you?
No, not really. There wasn't ever a specific moment. It's always just been like an accumulation of little things, but even so, it's not
Munchausen by proxy syndrome.
Like there was a big realization. It was just kind of like your children show you who they are, and that unfolds as they grow up, and it's no different with Eduardo. Absolutely not.
Your children show you who they are, but make no mistake, your children often are mirrors of their parents. They are a reflection to some degree, generally, right? We know that kids who bully other kids are often hurt at home, right? They're often bullied themselves. We know that kids who are we know kids who are SA'd and all that kind of stuff often exhibit those types of behaviors as they go forward, and they make crazy decisions on the relationships because they can't trust anybody. Kids who have loving parents you know, a two-parent, stable, loving household. Not saying they all are like this, but they generally exhibit a different type of persona, right? My kids exhibit it. I can see in Westy specifically, he exhibits my personality for certain things he gets frustrated with. Everly exhibits her mother's personality with loving and accepting of everybody and is very patient and kind, right? Our kids are literally, and to a degree, a reflection of us. And who is Eduardo a reflection of? Do you think Eduardo's coming out was influenced by the coming out of Jonathan? Eduardo, why are you asking that? You think Eduardo's coming out? Eduardo didn't come out. Your parents forced the story out. Eduardo didn't come to his parents and say, can we make a video? Hey, parents, I'm 7. Can we make a video of me coming out publicly, please? Do you think that happened? Do you think that's how this went down? Or did you think Jonathan was the one that was just putting the story out there? Because up to this point anyway, they've exploited their children for years and since birth. Okay? They've exploited them. So at this point, it's not Eduardo saying, I would like to come out to the world. It's Jonathan and Anna putting her story out to the world. So that's the question is wrong.
100% no.
Do you think Eduardo's coming out was influenced by Jonathan? And she says no? 100% no? Okay, nobody believes you.
If anything, I think it would have been the other way around, that Eduardo influenced Jonathan, you know, to kind of open himself up a little bit more and share.
You're telling me your 7-year-old child influenced you to be someone different? No.
His true...
Do you believe that, Anna, for real? Or are you just reading a script here?
...feelings with the world and his true identity with the world. Again, like I said before, I don't...
Is Anna embarrassed what her friends think?
...surround myself with people.
These people have no shame. What are they to be embarrassed about? They put their entire lives on the internet for everybody to see. From giving their kids cold showers and the abuse that's been documented, they abuse their children, okay? To like putting everything out there about their kids. This personal story, everything. You think these people have shame? Good question, though.
Like that, so it just wouldn't make sense. I would never have friends that thought that way. I don't have friends that think that way, so no. I think in reality, like, this is a learning curve for both of us, so... but I think because we've got such an open line of communication, that's been really good, because we can both kind of like let each other know how we can better support each other.
Word salad.
Which has been really good. And I know that with other schools, we probably wouldn't have been so lucky. So I'm really thankful for that. I think I was actually the one that told him that is probably where he...
How do you feel about Jonathan having the label non-binary and Anna saying it was me who did it? I love how people are like, don't label me, I'm not labeled. This whole world of gender is pretty... You have to take this into consideration. It's about I'm not what you think, I'm not normal, but it's also all about your label. If you go on TikTok and talk to some of these and see some of these videos from these adults and teenagers who are changing their gender and all this stuff, it's so much of the identity is wrapped up in actually the label. The label is absolutely everything. So it's about not being labeled and not being binary, but at the same time being completely labeled, and it matters and it shifts and changes often every day, multiple times a day.
Lies on is there a scale? Like, I don't really know. Because I had followed a couple of people that were non-binary, and I didn't really, like, before I didn't really understand it very well. And then when I followed those people and like actually got educated about what it was, it just kind of seemed to fit.
If you're confused at what non-binary is, Jonathan said it in his last video. Non-binary means you're not a boy or a girl, and you are a boy and a girl. Of all the gender dysphoria and gender identities, the non-binary one confuses me, and I think a lot of people the most. Look, if someone says they're born in the wrong body and they want to be the opposite sex, the opposite gender, oh, okay, well, that's easy, right? That's an easy way to say, okay, I understand that because it makes sense in the meaning of, like, it has meaning. You were born in the wrong body and you think that you are the opposite gender. Gender is a social construct. I get it. But this non-binary idea, it's dehumanizing to a degree, in my opinion, because you're both at the same time and you're none at the same time. How does that make any sense? So that is one question I have. happy to hear from people who are non-binary about how it makes sense. Is the idea that you don't want anything and you could be anything that just makes you feel comfortable, so you're just like one day you're the thing and that just makes you happy? Because if that's the case, okay. Whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, right? So I'm confused about it because at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense to a lot of people, which is why this isn't just a settled thing anymore. It's not settled science like a lot of people think it is.
Obviously, they're not completely, like, I think there's still, there's a lot of different types of non-binary as well, so he doesn't fit into like one box. And there's
types of non-binary. See? This is why I'm not making fun. I'm not slandering. I'm not snarking. I'm just like, what? Non-binary means you're neither and both, but there's different types. It's such a sliding scale. It's almost like you do need a gender studies degree to actually understand all this. And nobody has one of those. So when people are confused about this and they're like, it bothers me. And then they're labeled transphobes. How does that help anybody's case ever? When there's not a real conversation going around or a debate about this. You're not allowed to have a debate about this. You're just like, no, accept at the end. But help me accept it. Help me understand it. Maybe that's where communication is broken down. Because, this is a big deal, right? I want to know as a parent, my kid says non-binary, what does that mean? If you're both or none, who told you that? Who said that to you? Where did you hear that? Right? It had to come from somewhere.
Anybody really does. But it seemed like the label, if you like, that fit the best. But I think I was the one that brought that to him.
Okay.
I don't know, like...
Is Anna considered gay because she's married to half male, half female? That's not what non-binary is. It's not half male, half female. Jonathan said it clearly. I'm not either and I'm both. So it's not half and half either. Again, if this doesn't confuse you, can I have your brain?
Is this question for me? Is it for the universe? Is it for the people that decide those kinds of things? Like, I don't really know.
She's just like, label. Is it a label? Is it a label you want? Well, that's what you're saying. It's all about labels at this point. You guys are labeling because the label matters. It really does matter. If you don't think the label matters, it matters.
I wouldn't consider myself gay because I'm with a man. So.
But he's not a man. You just said he was non-binary. You have to make up your mind, Anna. Again, this is why I don't think this is a genuine thing. She's like, I'm not lesbian because I'm married to a man. Jonathan, and you said he was not. So it's not true. If you're going to go by label, again, this is why this is confusing everybody. This is like weird math, right? So people have these honest questions about, so your husband is no longer a male. So that makes you, what does that make you? But then she said, oh no, my husband's a male. Is he though? Because you said he's not and he said he's not. Make it make sense.
No.
They don't even know. That's why they're so confused. Anna is so confused. So does that mean I'm allowed to be confused and everybody else is too? Thank you. Is Anna worried you'll want to experiment with being a man? What?
Oh, not at all. Because I know for a fact that Jonathan is not attracted to men in any way. But even
Jonathan made that clear. He did say, I am not homosexual. And I mean, you got to believe him, because if he's going the route and wearing a coat like this, I believe him. I honestly believe that if he was, well, you got to believe him, because she's very confident in the fact that he's not. But I do think that it would be a detriment to this channel if he came out as homosexual, because that's bad for the channel. So, but I want to believe Jonathan, because, if he says it, because he has no shame in the other thing, right? He has no shame in saying I'm this and that and the other thing and putting their child out there, their story. So why would he be ashamed of that? If anything, he could just say I'm bi.
If he were, he's attracted to females, right? But I'm still not worried that he's going to go off and sleep with other females. So it's the same thing. I don't actually really get that question, because even if he were...
Yeah, it's a stupid question. Isabel Gregory is a shit-ass question. Dumb.
Bisexual, which he's not, why would that make it more likely for him to cheat?
The question isn't about him cheating. He says, is Anna worried you'll want to experiment with being a man? Oh, this is to Jonathan. My bad. I'm sorry. So is Anna worried you'll want to experiment being with a man, experiment with homosexuality? My bad.
Oh. The best thing is definitely that...
Money.
We are best friends, and he's always been able to... He's always had this, really cool way of being able to relate to me even though he's not me. And
what? You don't believe anything you're saying.
In a way that I've noticed a lot of other partners, like straight male partners and straight.
Why does she, when she ever does something like when it's a gender tag or something, she always goes like, well, it's a straight thing. Watch her. I wish I was a body language expert, because what I'm noticing is like whenever she does say something along the lines that comes close to the gender or the homosexuality thing, she just like, it's kind of nonchalantly the way she brushes it off, the way she says it. It's not that like the rest of the things that she's saying she's convinced of, but when she says something like that, it's almost like it's a brush off. It'd be interesting to see a real professional who understands body language to tear this video apart.
Male husbands of friends of mine haven't been able to do that, and that's just been like a natural thing, but I think it's been a really healthy thing.
It hasn't.
Also, he's always had female friends and just naturally got on with women. That's never bothered me, ever. In fact, I see it as a good thing, because it's just, it kind of like...
What is she saying here?
It makes everything a lot easier, because I feel like, of course, there's certain things that he doesn't get. Actually, probably more specifically to do with like my eating disorder and body image struggles.
What is this answer?
Kind of thing he doesn't really understand, but he's always been able to like be there for me. And for a lot of other things, he definitely...
So the best thing about Jonathan being non-binary is that he's there for you? Are you saying that people who are not non-binary won't be there for people? What kind of answer is this? What kind of question is that?
He can relate and does get a lot better, and he wants to listen to me, which is really... It's just such an easy fit. Like it just, everything kind of flows really easily. I can't remember ever saying that I liked...
Anna, feel about you not being typical quote unquote man when she said loves manly man and old you. I don't understand the question.
Manly men, but maybe I did. I don't really know.
You did.
I like men with beards. I know that for a fact. I don't know if I ever actually said those words, but maybe I did. I've been on the internet for 10 plus years.
Imagine saying that I don't know what I said in the past. That means you have no standards of what you said. You don't believe your own words. You don't even know. So that says lots.
See, I don't see it that way. I see Jonathan as being very masculine, like on the outside. Of course, there's...
Jonathan says he's not masculine on the outside, though. So what is going on here?
Like an inward, but like I'm attracted to the appearance of a more masculine, like older, typical, like older male. So that wouldn't change how I feel about him or how attracted I am to him sexually. It's still the same. On the inside, I think, yeah, he can have some like female like qualities, like be able...
Do you guys honestly believe that she believes what's coming out of her mouth right now?
To relate to me better. It's just a really good fit, like I said before. Yeah, it's like the best.
It's a business venture.
Best of both worlds, basically. Like I said, it doesn't really mean anything. Like it doesn't change. Not that it doesn't.
What kind of weird ass? Who asks these questions? Again, if you guys don't think parasocial relationships exist, look at these questions. Who are these people? I thought she was going to answer questions about, about Eduardo and really, really important questions like, how does this change the dynamic of your family? And, when are you going to stop exploiting the story? Like, do you feel guilty about exploiting his story for the world to see that he didn't give you permission to do? Questions like this. What does Jonathan being non-binary mean for your relationship sex? Like, who and why are you answering these questions? You are allowing these people to perpetuate even more of a parasocial relationship, which is creepy. These people are creepy for asking this.
Mean anything. It doesn't change anything. It basically means that everything, like I said, it's the best of both worlds. You've got the emotional side, which is, a good fit because he gets me. And then you've got the attraction side, like physical attraction side, which is also a good fit because he fits what I'm attracted to.
Never once debate with this one. Don't ever go on a debate anywhere, Anna. You are not good at speaking.
Oh, how else to explain? No.
Did you ever feel, this is the same lady, did you ever feel that Jonathan wasn't a straight male, or did him coming out shock you?
Because I know how he feels about even the thought of being with the man. So like, no.
You guys have talked about that? I guess. Well, I mean, okay, that makes sense, right? You're saying when he comes out, you're like, okay, what does that mean? They probably had to have the conversation. Are you attracted to men? Blah, blah, blah. So they've had the conversation.
It's just so different for me because none of this is new. Like, I've known who Jonathan is on the inside and out for almost 15 years.
15 years. I hope that's backed up in the book that he's like, so 15 years ago, he told Anna that he's non-binary.
So, yeah, it's just the only thing that's different is that there's a label. And
so why label it then? Why is it important to be labeled this? If nothing has changed, if it's all the same, why are we so hung up on being labeled as something? It's almost like there's a social reward for that, right?
And I guess that's probably why people don't like labels. I think I just figured that out like right now.
No, they love labels. People in the trans community, especially on TikTok, love the labels. Labels are everything. Again, I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying some of the labels that now are coming out, like we're talking about like elfkin, alienkin. We're talking labels that never existed. We're talking unlimited labels. And the label is everything to these people. So yeah, people love labels. I think it's the people who don't understand all this are like, what's with all the labels? Why did we get so damn complicated? And to what end? So that's one of the biggest questions about gender theory and gender ideology and all this stuff that I have is it's just about making you happy? Because I'm the person that says, if you're not hurting anybody and you're happy, awesome, right? If you want to use your imagination, if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons, believe in magic or be a witch or be an atheist or be a Christian or whatever, if it doesn't hurt anybody, I totally get that. But what is the end game here? What has changed? It's such a weird question.
But yeah. So I've seen a few people have questioned why I haven't made an announcement on my social media, like on my Instagram page or anywhere about Eduardo or about Jonathan. And I think a lot of people have confused that for me not like being embarrassed or upset or something like that.
Why do we think that? Well, because you put everything else online. All of your benchmarks, all your pregnancies and everything else, everything you've done, it's all online. So when this major benchmark of your channel, of your everything doesn't get put out there, people are worried. They're wondering why. This is a big thing. They make a lot of money off this thing. So I can't wait to hear this.
I think the only reason genuinely why I would never make an announcement, I mean, first of all, I have shared anything that we've put out just has happened to be on Jonathan's social media, and I will
convenient.
Will share that.
I think likely because advertisers tend to not want to be associated with something that's like a political football at this point. It is accepted, obviously, and it's very, especially on Twitter. Like you're talking, if Twitter didn't exist, then we would be having a completely different conversation, right? But I think what happens is on her main Instagram, Jonathan doesn't make money on his. Her Instagram is the main moneymaker, right? We did a video on her Duracell commercials and things like that. I tend to think that big brands want to stay away from anything politically divisive, right? So that's what I'm saying. But she's not going to ever say that.
Happily shared everything and being really open about everything. But the only thing that keeps me from making an actual announcement or, officially saying anything is the negativity that I don't need in my life. I choose to keep things.
So, okay, let's unpack that a little bit here. So you are not ashamed. So you didn't make the announcement, and you don't want to make the announcement because you're afraid of the pushback you're going to get. That seems counterproductive. If you're so proud and amazed at this moment and all this kind of stuff, and you're like so strong for Eduardo and Jonathan, but you're scared of the backlash? Sorry. You don't get to put your entire life online, but eliminate this one because you're scared of the backlash. Sorry. If you're proud of this and everything else is going on and you actually believe it, you would come out proud in a big, proud stance for trans youth. Because that's generally what parents do who are in support of this. They're like, I don't care what you say. I'm proud about this, and we're going to bring awareness and exposure to this. It's very important to me because I support my child. It doesn't add up.
Pretty light on my social media. That doesn't mean
also known as advertiser friendly.
That I don't deal with heavy stuff in my life, but that's just how I choose to portray myself, and not even myself, but just like,
No, you meant yourself.
That's how I choose to just live my life in general. I don't.
Okay, so you're just scared of the backlash, which means that you are a little bit of ashamed of it, or you just don't believe it. Like, again, as a parent who wholeheartedly believes that you should help your child and be there for them, especially parents who are out. I'm glad they don't. Obviously, I'm glad she doesn't. I'm not saying she should. I'm just saying it speaks volumes that if you're so much in support of this, that why wouldn't you be a freaking cheerleader for your daughter and trans kids all over? You have this huge platform to be able to do that. Why wouldn't you use that platform to bring more awareness to this, more acceptance to it?
I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. It's just different people are wired differently. And if I'm able to, be okay with the way other people want to be seen on social media or portray themselves on social media, then I think that people should give me that respect as well. Having said that, I do want to say thank you to
the light got better.
Everybody that's been positive. There's been like 99% of reactions and of people's comments have been hugely positive.
That's because you delete all the negative ones. No. When they dropped that video, the early one, I have not gotten so many messages since like a big story drops like Micah or Sticky Philippi. Like that was a big deal. They are not getting 99% positive comments. What you see is 99% because they curate the comment sections of their stuff. It is not accepted because it is, and it's not, that's not to say that they're not accepting of Eduardo, but what they're saying is that they're not accepting of the exploitation of Eduardo's story online.
I'm supportive and I totally recognize that. I also never want people to feel like they have to fight for me or for Eduardo or for Jonathan. It's just, it's really, really lovely when people do that. To say thank you to everyone that's been really, really kind, the DMs, the messages, the comments, the tweets, everything that we've received.
I do notice this in comment sections, especially Maya Knight and everybody else. If you like, Maya Knight's the big hot topic right now, but if you go to her comment sections and anybody ever makes a negative video on Maya Knight, the stands that come after you, like the support that they have. Maya, go Yas, the Yas Queen everybody into oblivion. These people blindly follow these, and it's just such a weird world. Man, I need to sit down with a psychologist and talk about this parasocial relationship it's getting scarier and scarier and scarier. These people that come in and be like, my day is not complete unless I see you. Your videos are goals, and like they live their life to watch someone else's family. I can't get over how creepy that is. I can't get over how abnormal that is as a human. It is too. And there's millions of people out there who watch this shit. It is such a weird psychological phenomenon.
It's been so positive. I just can't thank you enough. Obviously, this is a two-way street and, we're all growing and learning at the same time. So thank you for being supportive. Let's
quickly see if she's telling the truth, because I have the plugin that shows you the downvotes. Saccone Joly's. There's a video titled "Coming Out." 1.3 million views. Okay, that's made 15 grand off that video or more, 20 grand, pounds, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so if you look at their videos, I need to show you this thing. I have this thing. I don't know. It tells you what views per hour are in the vidIQ thing. This plugin I have. The vidIQ shows that this one is kind of lapsed at 333,000, which is a big one. But this one here 3 days ago is getting 2.7 thousand views per hour. But if we go into this video here about the coming out one they just came back with, they say it's 99% positive. That's odd because they have 17,000 likes and 1.5 thousand dislikes. Don't forget that YouTube took down the dislike counter, so you can't see it. We can see it because I have the plugin. That's not 99%. So you're looking at a not, that's not a, that's a low 90s, high 80s percentage, because your dislike counts hard against the likes. It's not 1 for 1, everybody. I think you need something like 4 or 5 pluses to eliminate 1 down. I don't know how, that's the algorithm. Not saying it's normal math. That's YouTube's algorithm. So it's really interesting to say she's got 99% support. They've got 2,455 comments on a video with 300,000 views. Okay. I often will get 1,000 comments on a video with 30,000 views. So they are absolutely sorting words. They're not allowing certain comments in. It's not they're lying. And you get 13 seconds ago, says, so you're making your child live the life you couldn't. Wow, that's effed up. That's 13 seconds ago. Likely if you come back, that comment will be gone. So even in the first 3 comments, there's not support. These are sorted by newest. Exploiting your kids for views and money. Imagine that. Completely sick. Jonathan is a horrible dad. Damn, that's a terrible dad. Anna, find a guy. That's all I'm saying. Who told your son that you were a girl and to put on costume and dress up? I'd like to hear about Anna's perspective. The social media generation. I think something should be kept private. I've read the first 10. None of them are positive. A boy is a boy. Eduardo, you're beautiful. There is a positive one for Eduardo. Gosh, I love you guys so much. I've missed these videos. There's a positive one there. This comment section is full of transphobia, disguised as confusion. Again, if Lucy Breeze, you might have a point there that this comment section is full of transphobia, disguised as confusion. False concern about a kid you don't know. That's clearly happy. You don't know anything about Eduardo, first of all. And again, this is why this is such a tough topic, because I'm confused about certain things like I'm a boy and a girl, and I'm not a boy and not a girl. And because that's a confusing statement, I'm a transphobe. Right? People like Lucy Breeze, that's the problem. That's why you can't have a real conversation about this, because she says comment section is full of transphobia disguised as confusion. So if you're confused, that's a disguise and you're actually just a hateful bigot. That's what that means. And that's the problem. You're not allowed to have conversations about this. And that should scare the shit out of everybody. Okay? What are certain things you're not allowed to have conversation about during COVID, right? You got kicked off for saying certain things off all social media platforms, demonetized and all this stuff, which are now accepted as truth. But at the time, they were not. Political football is right now like the war that's going on. People are getting kicked off for being anti-war, they're not pro-Russia, but they're being anti-war. I don't want this. No. And they're trying to fight again. They're getting kicked off. That's not a politically correct statement this days, and to not want wars, to not want to go to war for people in Ukraine. It's a political football. But if you're not allowed to talk about something, it's likely the thing you should be talking about the most. It's likely the thing that should be debated the most amongst level-headed thinkers. Not crazies on either side, no fringe people. Of level-headed people who are willing to listen, willing to shift both ways. This topic is very, very, very divisive for that reason. Do I believe anything Anna said there? Not really. It was a lot of word salad for things. I honestly believe that the Munchausen by proxy syndrome is a question we are allowed to ask here. Do I believe that is, Jonathan? To a degree, I do think so. I think that if you have any evidence for it, it's definitely in this type of household dynamic, right? Munchausen by proxy is somebody who grew up who, in Jonathan's words, had to grow up in a closet, had to grow up silently struggling with this his whole life. And as soon as Eduardo exhibited the things she exhibited, Jonathan's like, boom, that stuff might come out. Also, don't forget that they exploit their children already, regardless of the trans issue. They've been doing it forever. So now they're just doing it even more. So exploitation of the thing is Munchausen syndrome by proxy to get your own gains of attention and fame and money. Most Munchausen by proxy isn't about making money. It's about bringing attention to yourself as the person who is projecting that onto your child or to another person. In this case, it's both. He's getting massive amounts of attention and they're getting paid big dollars for this story. And they're going to do a story where they come out with Eduardo's new name, and it's not their story. They're not listening. Look at go to their comment section. You tell me that's 99% supportive. Most people who even follow them, who are followers of them, subscribers of them, are saying, this is not okay. Regardless of what you think about the whole gender debate, okay? What they're doing is not okay and will never be okay. That's my argument here. But at least it's opening up the conversation. So everybody take a deep breath. I'm sure we'll revisit these people big time. If he keeps using Eduardo's story, I'm going to keep calling him out. I'm going to keep calling Anna out. I'm going to keep calling Jonathan out. And we're going to make sure that they know what they're doing is wrong. It's getting worse. TikTok has made it even worse. I hope that Joe Biden's right, which I don't think he is, but he came out and said, we're going to make sure that social media world is going to be held accountable for this experiment we're playing on our children. I hope he's right. I doubt it, but I hope so. Also hope he's right that the PPP police are coming after all these people. I'm going to do a video on that soon, Kevin, too. So anyway, thank you for joining me in this video. These are very tough topics and ones that I don't take very lightly at all. And I'm happy to be wrong about certain things as well. And I'm happy to learn, and I'm happy to have conversations about this. This is a big deal to me that I get this right, because I do believe in the humanity of people. I do believe that when it comes to people's identities, it's something worth talking about, something worth researching and being, educated about. Because I don't think that it's set in stone either way. But if you're not allowed to ask the question if people are faking it for views and attention, if you're not even allowed to ask that, if you think that doesn't exist, then I don't think that we can have a conversation. Because in every aspect of life, there are always people who are going to do things wrong. And if you say that that can't be here in this case, then why? Right? The evidence is all there for this. So it might not be in the case of something else, but in this case, the evidence is strong for it. And you have to be able to ask that question. Sorry for rambling. You guys are beautiful, gorgeous, and super valuable. Don't you ever forget it. I'll see you tomorrow.